The title is Ultra Realistic Reborn Dolls Rising in Popularity. Have you guys seen those dolls? It's interesting. It's layered. It's more nuanced than people think. And it's also sometimes as creepy as people think. But let's talk about it.
So this is my nursery. I call it Butterfly Nursery. Victoria has beautiful pierced ears. So he has like this little fade going on. I can actually curl her hair, straighten her hair, just like I do mine. She's one of the only ones that can take a full pacifier. He has gorgeous hair, gorgeous curls. I think I bonded with him because he has a very like mama's boy face.
In Cheryl Wood's nursery, the babies don't cry, they don't grow. They're called Reborn Dolls.
So this is a dimple sculpt. He has these cute dimples here, and gorgeous smile. There's veining that will be added sometimes on the arms or even on the face. I love smiling, grumpy, serious, anything. It just kind of adds life to the nursery. Tate was a custom. I got to pick his eye color, skin tone, his hairstyle, his hair color. For me with Tate, I think he really reminds me of my boys when they were little.
These are hyper-realistic, handmade, and high-priced dolls.
I have 38 Reborn Dolls. Silicones will start at...
She rich or in dead? I don't know which one, but damn. That's interesting. Okay, hold on. Now let's see. Okay, let me tell you this. When I first saw these, I was like, ooh, there's something really creepy happening here. And though that's true for some of the people, I also did see another side of this where patients with Alzheimer's or dementia want to take care of the dolls. And I think that can be really nice. Or people who are disabled, who have like intellectual disabilities, they feel really good about the dolls. Or people who have never been able to have children naturally, who are on some disability spectrum, can find solace in them. So, okay, we'll allow those to be integrated into our thought process and our discernment here when we judge. And also, I think there are a lot of TikTokers that I see that when I see their stuff, I'm like, oh, no. Something bad is happening here. It's kind of like AI boyfriends. You could have an AI boyfriend because you're just like experimenting and going through things. Because let me tell you, even though I'm anti-AI, I also know that when I was a young person, okay, chat was like my life-saving thing. If I was a young person with an AI boyfriend, I think that could have made sense when I was younger. But if you have like an AI boyfriend in certain contexts, I'm like, hello, are you okay? And then other times I understand that, again, people with intellectual disabilities, people who are like severely ostracized from society, like a AI boyfriend can be a life-saving mechanism. So again, I might not be excited that we ever need it, but also like I am open to the fact that 8 billion people exist on the planet, and I would rather this than people killing themselves. So let's talk about it, right? And also let's move people in a philosophically proper direction, because ultimately that's our hope. Well, radically accepting we're animals on the planet. Well, radically accepting we don't have free will, in my opinion, that you can have a different opinion, and radically accepting that like people aren't just going to change overnight. Okay, so all of that in mind.
About 1,800, and they go all the way up to 10,000. She was 3,000. She has what we call armatures. Because she has the wiring in her arms, I can make her look even more lifelike.
Cheryl is a mother of 3 teenagers, but the Reborns are giving her a different kind of joy.
It kind of really boosts like the dopamine to bring you a feeling of calmness and peace. It brought back the spark of my love for dolls when I was younger, but it also has helped immensely with my anxiety over the years.
Reborn dolls are now a global phenomenon. Cheryl is just one of tens of thousands of women collecting these dolls.
Day in a life of taking care of my reborns, part 1. First, I get them out of bed and make them all breakfast.
Fueled by social media like this doll mom who goes by The Dolls Aren't Real on Instagram, where she...
This one, when I see her TikToks come on my timeline, Shimba Baba Brona Roja Kucha Alamin. Shimba Baba Brona Roja Kucha Alamin. Okay? And also that girl that gave her baby the waffle, who's gonna eat that waffle? Because don't you waste a waffle. Okay, but when I see this lady come up, this is exactly the girl that I'm thinking of.
She treats them like real kids, pretending to handle everyday routines.
Change your diaper.
Taking them to Target.
Wow, that is precious.
Or even giving one a spa day. Their appeal has also played out on TV. M. Night Shyamalan's Apple TV thriller, Servant, portrayed a reborn as a source of solace for a grieving mother.
You lost your...
Right? Okay. Like I could imagine you losing your kid and it's great therapy. I could 100% see that. Okay. But this is my question I ask all of us. And this is what introspection is so hard. This is why introspection is so hard. Because when you do something, even if something is like, why do you drink out of that straw? Why do you drink that water type? Why do you like this thing? You kind of do have to be honest with yourself. And I don't know if certain people at different stages of their life, and this is everybody, is always ready to be honest with themselves. Like, okay, why do you do that? Because, and then is it okay to imagine a time when you don't do it? If that makes sense. Like, I know for me at a stage in my life, self-harming felt like empowerment because it was like one thing I could control in my life, right? And then when I turned 30, well, I went to therapy at 28, but like when I was done with therapy and I was heading into the next era of my life, I stopped self-harming at 30. I noticed that I had let go of the need to control everything, and I realized it was never in my control in the first place, right? But at a time in my life, self-harming felt like a safe space, and thinking about not doing it felt like you were trying to control me, right? And so it's just in order for therapy to have worked, I had to go into therapy thinking that it was going to be time to let go of the life that I thought I wanted and start to go for the life that was going to make me joyful. So I just wonder, like, at what point do some of these things need to end? And at what point do some of these things never end? Right? Because like, what if you're in constant, like, what if you don't get that opportunity in life? Because not everybody gets that. Like in their one life on earth, not everybody gets to recover. Not everybody gets to heal. Not everybody gets that. Do I think that more people could definitely heal and get better if they had better tools? Yes. I just don't think people have the resources. But even with all of the resources, with all of the help, you might never recover. And those people, I think we need to make space for. And I think that's the hard part, is knowing the difference. Like, especially when you talk about dating or integrating or employment. Like, what if somebody with a reborn doll was like, oh, I can't come to work, my kid has the flu, and you know they have a reborn doll? Do we just call that a mental health day? Because I'm open to that. I'm open to just saying like, oh, they're having a mental health day. Do you know what I'm saying? Also, I'm anti-capitalism and I hate the way that we do stuff now anyway, so they should honestly have time off anyways for their doll to get sick. But
when he was 13 weeks, Dorothy took it hard. This was the only thing that brought her back.
We're inside the West Coast Doll Show, and there's dolls just like this, reborns. This one's Logan. He's worth $1,500. He's the largest.
$1,500. That's why I say that lady is either in debt or, and that's my concern too, are people who are, well, I guess that's with every industry, are people who don't have the money spending their money on these dolls. This woman had 38 dolls. I don't know if they were all $1,500. I doubt it, but like,
Doll show here in California.
Here in Los Angeles,
I'm going to get my baby.
hundreds have come to buy,
Those are little nano preemie diapers.
sell,
Great prices. It's kind of like, okay, can I just take them all?
and show off reborn dolls.
This is the baby that I sculpted, the real baby I sculpted.
Where playing with dolls is serious business.
I bought her hair from a barber.
He is going to go home and join a embarrassingly large collection.
Some people traveled across the country, like Suhaiti Nemus, a reborn doll influencer who has 2.8 million followers on TikTok.
I have a whole room for the boys, and I also have a whole room for the girls too.
That turned into my job. Out of nowhere, when I was 16, I started making money.
The price tags can be staggering.
My last doll I bought was $5,400. I have hundreds, so you do the math.
So to
I used to have porcelain dolls as a kid. You know, my grandmas or my aunties started it for me or something. I had like 4 or 5, 6, 7, I don't remember. Porcelain dolls. And to this day, I love a porcelain doll. I love a doll. I think dolls are beautiful. I love them as collector items. I just think like dolls are so great. I don't have any dolls in the house. I think they're pretty. But like, to be fair, I'm not a collector. Okay, so there's 2 groups here. To be fair, we don't collect anything. We actually, you want to hear something a little custom? This is how customized my marriage is. We don't do collections. We as people are not collectors. We refuse to spend our money on collections, and we refuse to spend any of our spoons on trying to find these things. The only things we're allowed to collect are something that is attached to like non-spending money things or very little spending money things like skins in Overwatch. You can find them in loot boxes or something, but like you're not about to pay for a skin unless you want to use your fun money budget. We're like, the household budget is not paying for gaming stuff. Okay. And so, yeah, there's like something here where if you're a collector, I could see this being very specific. But I am not attached to things. I am willing to get rid of everything always, every time. It would be sad to have to get rid of some of the things that I have for sure, but I don't want to, it's too much of a commitment. Okay, with that said, I always dreamed of having a collection of books. I always wanted the Beauty and the Beast library, but when I was hauling around 2,000 books from state to state, I was like, eventually, I was like, I'm over this. I used to haul my books because that's what I wanted. It was a book collection. And then I was like, it's just inconvenient. I'm not rich enough to haul all my stuff everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's my concern with these groups is I feel like a lot of collectors are just in hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt. I've rarely met a collector who wasn't in major debt or wasn't a hoarder. So my concern is that, are you a collector or are you a mass consumer? Are you collecting items or are you are you building a collection in months? Or is this like a 20-year process? Did you spend $50,000 on a Lego set when you are like risking being unhoused? Like there's a lot of like, for me, ethical questions that play into this. Do you know what I mean? Like what, like even I tell my partner, like I would love to invest in a lot of things, but until we have a place that we can't get kicked out of, it feels really weird to invest in all of these things that we have to take with us everywhere we go. Like, what's the point of that? Like, I've moved so many times, but then maybe you haven't moved as much as me. Before I was even 9, before I was even 9, my parents moved us 12 times. Do you know what I mean? And then as a single or as a independent adult, I have moved many times in my life, including overseas. I have moved a lot in my life. Okay, so I'm just telling you this right now. Like, I'm not judging you for having a collection. I'm just saying I wonder if people are thinking about it before they invest their money. And then they look back and think, oh my God, I can't believe I spent $6,500 on a Reborn doll. I don't know.
Together, they were about $2,500.
This Reborn doll is $10,000.
It's very soft and so real.
Janie Scott is the founder of the West Coast Doll Show and a Reborn artist herself.
Women get the stigmatism that they can't collect, that they can't have anything. You know, they're homemakers, they're workers, and they do everything for everybody else. And this, to me, is for them.
Now, for many, this may seem confusing.
That's interesting. Dolls were always like a woman-approved collection thing growing up. So it's interesting that she feels that wasn't true. China, you have a China cabinet, the nice China. You have collections for tea mugs. So yeah, I get it. Like, if you have the money, do it. But you know what I mean?
Using or just plain weird. Why do people take these dolls everywhere they go?
And what do your daughters say to see you being involved with this? They think.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit of the difference. Are you collecting these dolls or are you taking these dolls out and pretending they're kids? Is it a collection if you're changing its diaper and feeding it waffles? I don't think that's what you do with your Lego sets. You know what I'm saying?
I'm crazy.
How come? What do they tell you?
My house is creepy. They don't.
Oh, Chet says they have living dolls. You said, to be fair, I only have 2 living dead dolls. Living dead dolls. I'm not swimming them. Living dead dolls? What's a living dead doll? These? Do you mean you have 2 of these? Like, I could see it for like, my friend has a cool collection of this artist who makes these dolls that are like, they're kind of like haunted baby dolls and they're kind of like teddy bears, but they're kind of like zombies. They look really fucking cool. They're really cool. And I think she's like 6 of them or something. And I'm like, man, I love this collection. Like, it's really cool, but it's handmade by an artist. Do you know what I mean? It's very interesting. It's very like goth. It's very cool. I could see that being cool and like having a collection of like certain things. You said, oh no, not the same thing. Okay. Not the same thing. I was curious because this feels like it could just be an innocent doll collection thing. It's not a big deal. I think the TikTokers just make it worse. I think that's probably what it is. It's kind of like furries. We're like, really, if you look into the furry community, it's really not that big of a deal. But sometimes like the way people talk about furries is so weird. They're like, are all furries weird? To be honest, like most people are not that weird. You know what I mean? So maybe that's how it is with Reborn Dolls, where like, it's honestly not that weird. It's just like the weirdest people get the most famous. And so then you're like, are you okay, buddy? You know, something like this?
I want to stay there, and they think I've lost my mind.
I don't think it's weird. I know some people think it's very, very weird, but I don't think it's like a mental disorder to like them.
I have my hobbies, she has hers. I support hers and she supports mine.
But many tell us these lifelike dolls can be a source of comfort.
You're having a bad day and you look at this and it just makes everything better.
What is it that initially drew you into collecting?
My daughter, when she left, I kind of like lost my way, and I ended up getting into the doll world. 1 turned into 2, 2 turned into 5, 5 turned into 10. I couldn't stop.
Holding a doll, it releases oxytocin. It's the hormone that makes you feel happy. I don't have kids, so and they don't cry, and I don't send them to college, so it's perfect.
Susan Gibbs, a silicone artist, turned her childhood dream into a career, even making Reborn dolls for Hollywood movies, like Ron Howard's island thriller Eden, when Sydney Sweeney's character gives birth.
Outside of the doll world, there'll be comments like, oh, that's freaky, it looks so real. But then as an artist, oh, thank you. That was my goal.
The hyper-realistic detail goes deep.
Even the details on the back of the hand, like it's got little veins and the little nail tips.
These are silicone tongues.
So these are tongues, yep.
The hair rooted one strand at a time, sometimes from actual human hair.
Her hair is human. It was cut from an actual real child.
Okay. And the
Chat said videos like this are also why I say men are from Venus and women are from Mars. Why? Men want sex robot dolls. It's like the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Listen. Okay, I think human beings are weird. I think we're animals who collect shiny things. I think we are animals on a planet, and I think regardless of your gender, you're gonna do these things. So you said you never catch a man at this event. Didn't you just see 5 men on screen? Did you not just see a bunch of men on screen? Did you miss it? What do you mean? They're there. They're there to support their wives, but like, so? Like, they're still there. Like, also, there are men, but you act like men haven't been socialized away from dolls. That's why you guys get sex robots instead. Let me tell you this. There are definitely going to be men. Okay? There are definitely going to be men. I'm telling you, you don't even know what men are willing to do until they're actually allowed to. Because let me just tell you, men love being furries, okay? They love dolls. They love makeup. They love drag. They love everything. It's just you have to go to the bubbles. You have to go to the bubbles. Anyways, I'm not saying that people should or they shouldn't, but I'm saying like it's interesting why people do things. Like why they do what they do. I think that's what's interesting.
Mel, what is baby perfume?
Baby perfume is usually made by an artist, and it's different oils and stuff that they put in the bottle, and you spray it on the
True, men love dolls. They just call them action figures. True.
baby, and it gives the smell of a baby. It really brings nostalgia back.
Look, okay, listen. Have you guys ever smelled a baby and gotten that high? I've smelled a lot of babies in my life because obviously I was a nanny and I'm my older sister. Yeah, the smell is incredible. Like the smell of a baby's head is like, and when I first held my niece for the first time and she smiled at me, I burst into tears. Guys, biologically speaking, my whole life, I felt so rushed by, like I wanted a baby so badly and then it went away. And that biological change is such an eye-opening experience to me. We're obviously all having different experiences. The fact that I could go my whole life literally having like a natural drive towards being a mom and then for it to disappear, I was like, oh, look at that. That's why I don't believe in free will. I didn't even have the choice about wanting to be a mother. I had this drive. I had this biological drive since I was a child. I would go by maternity stores and be like, I can't wait to be a mom. That wasn't me. I mean, there is no me. I am just like this experience. But, you know, and then I got older and then I'm like, oh, it went away. You know, it just went away. So again, when we have these conversations, it's so interesting to me, like what people are chasing. But that's why a part of me doesn't judge it because I just know they're not thinking about it. And also, if they thought about it, I wonder how different their life would look. And I think for me, I'm always just asking myself, like, okay, Britt, why do you want this thing? Because not only could we find it cheaper and better somewhere else, but maybe we don't even need it. You know? And that's the thing. I think that's the thing that for all of us is, it depends on how you want to do things. But I generally, I don't see much harm happening in this exact video. So a part of me is like, okay, like that's fine. But that one lady on TikTok creeps me out.
To people, especially if they save their children's baby clothes.
And collecting them has become a serious business, just like Labubus or sneakers or even baseball cards.
Daily, there's about 50 transactions. There's 600 artists and sellers.
Dave Stack is
There's your man. Hey, look, there's your man.
Cards.
Daily, there's about 50 transactions.
Founder of Reborns.com. All right, Dave.
There's 600 artists and sellers.
Dave Stack is the founder of Reborns.com, one of
a man who's a founder? Boom.
The largest marketplace in the U.S. to buy and sell reborn dolls. Now, a younger generation is giving the craft a new look.
When I first got into it, it was a lot of a older demographic, but now you see people like me, people in high school, people in college, also into this, and I feel like it's erasing that stigma that it's something like weird or something odd. Like it's actually cool.
Daya Johnson.
Damn, and now people of color are there? It's not even just for white women? It's for everybody? Girls, maybe we're missing out. Maybe we should go to a convention.
An LA artist discovered Reborns on YouTube. She creates and sells her own through Bonnet Babies.
There are comments that we see when she's putting the dolls to bed or whatnot. People
See,
react
what's up with
really
that?
strongly and negatively.
See, why are you playing the ball? Okay, listen. I LARP. No, I don't LARP. That's a different bubble. I am all about role play. I'm all about playing pretend. Okay, I'm a 37-year-old who's more than happy to put on a little dominatrix suit and play some games, okay? But at the same time, why does this feel too far? Just a question. Chess says that's even worse, 100% women consumers and all the profit is going to the man. Why are we even, okay, listen, At the end of the day, women are given permission to collect dolls. So I don't know why we're having this conversation. Men collect dolls. They don't just call them dolls. Okay? This is literally patriarchy 101. This is just one variation of doll collection, but men collect dolls. Do you know what I'm saying? Your original statement of a man would never be here, a man would never be at this doll convention, but men do collect dolls. That's literally what action figures are. They literally collect dolls. So like, again, you don't like, you're making it like, I'm just saying your original point doesn't make any sense. Just because men might not be generally at this convention, even though there are literally men in this audience that I'm seeing. You said a man wouldn't be caught dead here. I'm literally looking at a man in this still. There's literally a man's head right there. Okay, assuming that is a man, assuming anybody's even a man in the first place. The point is like, we all collect things. Whether or not the bubble is gearing more towards this is like specific, right? Okay, so again, everyone collects stuff. All of us, like all genders collect things. But what's interesting, wait, I lost my train of thought. Wait, I did lose my train of thought. Oh, this bubble only feels weird because they're taking it a step further. But you know what also it takes it a step further that feels weird is when people like, they kind of talk about their hobbies like it's their real life. Like, you know, those girl, remember that girl I reviewed a long time ago who like has like a fake life with the Bridgerton characters, but she calls it like a real life. What is it called, girls? Where she like closes her eyes and she goes into her new life and she has like a child and a baby. And I'm like, how, so your husband only existed after Bridgerton was made? Like, you don't have a, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. Those people, like, then I'm like, hi, are we grounded? You know what I mean? Like, are we grounded? And that's the question. Is like, I love a fantasy, but what's real? Like, what's actually happening? Reality switching. Is it called switching? There was a name for it. There's like a specific name for it. It's not maladaptive daydreaming. It's like, there's a name. They call it like, they have a name for it. It's a bubble I'm not familiar with. That's why I don't remember the name. But they have like a whole shifting. I think it's shifting. I think that's it, chat. It's like they shift into their whole, I love that you guys, oh my God, I love that there's so many bubbles. You guys are like naming all the possible bubbles. That's what I'm saying. We all have so many different bubbles we exist in. This is just one of them. Exactly, right? When you, like, this is what I'm trying to say to you. Chet says shifting is maladaptive daydreaming though, but okay. It doesn't matter if the technical term is maladaptive daydreaming. The bubble speak is shifting. Do you get what I'm saying? Right? Chat said, isn't shifting just imagination? No, it's not just imagination. And it's not just regular daydreaming. It's not always maladaptive. Like, people think, again, maladaptive means a very specific word, like it means a very specific thing, which is the question, is your hobby becoming maladaptive? Because that's the difference between groundedness and ungroundedness. Because I daydream, I get lost in stories, I make stories up in my head, but I don't maladaptive daydream. I'm just daydreaming. You can daydream without it being maladaptive. Okay? And the problem we're having here is like the wordage and how it's being used, but there are people who think they're really shifting. So if you think you're really shifting, that's a little bit further than even maladaptive daydreaming, right? That's like a belief, a grounded belief that I have kids and a husband in another universe. That's like a step further than maladaptive daydreaming in my limited understanding. So again, when we have these conversations, it's like, oh, so okay, same thing with these people here. Are you just like collecting, or are you actually like projecting a consciousness onto the doll?
Lead to that. What is your take?
I feel like people always find things strange that they don't know or they're like not familiar with, but it's the same as any other content. People record themselves just laying.
I mean, that's true. I don't want to prejudge like everybody else does everything else. That's why we have to discern, is there really a danger here?
Down in the bed and pretending to go to sleep. So what's the difference between doing that same thing with the dolls?
For Cheryl Wood, she hopes this increased popularity leads to more understanding of why people collect these dolls.
So we're at the Simi Town Center. It's a little outdoor mall I'll come to sometimes.
Now, Cheryl brings her dolls out every week.
See, this is more than a person wearing a tail, as an example, or even a furry walking around in a furry suit. The furry suit feels less weird to me than taking a reborn doll into a stroller, into a store, and you're not a 5-year-old kid. Because you're an adult person. You know what I'm saying? Like, why is an adult person who's well beyond adult years pretending to push a baby in a stroller? Unless you have a disability that's specific, or you're mourning or grieving, or you're doing like a therapy thing. Like, why are you, I'm not asking it. I'm literally just asking for real. Why are you doing this? I don't get it.
No longer worried about hiding them from people.
I would keep a blanket over and keep them covered. And I've gotten to the point where I do this, where I go out and they're not covered at all. I used to be nervous, and I just do my thing, and I don't really care what people think.
Yeah, I wish I understood the psychology behind it, but like, why do you do it? And I think when people say like it's comforting, okay, so is masturbating. I'm not going to do that in public though. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so is touching my nips, but I'm not going to do that in public. Like, okay, a lot of things are comfortable or comforting, but like, okay. And that's like, I think that's the problem. I just don't understand that argumentation. Okay. So here's the TikTok that I don't like. I don't like this TikToker. She creeps me out. It says morning with a doll mom.
June. Today is June's first day at tennis camp. June, sweetie. Good morning, June.
Good morning, Mother.
Would you like to finish feeding your brother while I make your breakfast?
Why would I want to do that?
Hi, baby. Polly, sweetie.
Right, a woman's job. She did something right.
DJ.
Okay, two things. One, I'm gonna be that person. Are you ready for it? One, I think there's something weird about her having black babies. I said what I said. Okay, I just feel like, why do you have mixed babies? Okay, what are you doing with these brown babies? Weird. Okay, two, are you brown? It's confusing me. Okay, two, I don't like the idea of knowing how busy my day is and thinking that I would have to fake have a baby in my house. Like, do you have a job? Is this your job? Because like, I am so busy with my life, I couldn't even imagine adding a fake element into it in which I am doing all of this shit. I'm busy. Okay, 3, 4, 5, whatever I am on. I am concerned that there's something insidious and weirdly sexual about this, but I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out, but it gives the same energy as like weird fetish content. I don't like it. I don't know what it is. I could be wrong. This could be my own bias and prejudice, and I acknowledge this. I could be wrong. Don't listen to me just because I'm Brittany Simon. But something about the content makes me be like, what are you doing? I don't like it. Yeah, it's the objectification. You got it, chat. You got it. You're so smart. It's the objectification. It's giving objectification, which, by the way, we're going to talk about this objectification of motherhood with this trans conversation coming up, because I'm sick of people pretending like motherhood is a sacred passing for a woman, and giving birth isn't just a back-breaking, hip-breaking, organ displaying death machine waiting for all of us, and something beautiful and sacred and spiritual and all the other good things too. But that's the thing, is like we either romanticize or demonize. So I'm not trying to demonize these people. I'm trying to say, like, what's happening here? Why are you doing it? Okay. Now, Discord said, I can understand wanting to take a doll out like a comfort object. I've done it myself, but taking out a reborn just feels a little bit different. Maybe because people may think it's an actual baby, and I think that's why it feels weird. Okay, if it's not too personal though, like what, unless you, again, and this is very fine line. This is a very fine line. I want to know what is psychologically happening in the brain of an adult past 30 that is carrying a doll out in public as a comfort item. Is that disability, autism? What is that? Because I just don't know what it is. Like, when a whole ass doll, do you know what I'm saying? Like a whole ass, and I'm not trying to judge you. I'm trying to understand it because I genuinely don't get it, because it's a whole ass doll. Do you mean like a stretch doll? Do you mean like a little keychain doll? Because that could make sense. Like a fidget spinner? Because I could get that. But like a doll? Like a whole ass doll? I would just be so inconvenienced. You know what I'm saying? Chat says it could be autism. Yeah, but I have autism. So I'm saying, like, what is it about your autism that would make you take a whole ass doll? Like, that sounds like a lot of work. Respectfully. You know what I mean? I'm just like, that sounds like a lot of work. Like, why am I taking a whole ass doll anywhere? Like, does nobody ever, like, it just feels like, what are we doing? You know, so I'm just trying to figure it out. Like, is it a fashion statement? Like, what's the actual reason? Like, it's a comfort item. You know, yeah, Chat said I would set it down and leave it by accident. Literally, I would definitely leave it. You know, Chet says different kinds of autism, I guess. Well, it's not just about autism, though. Guys, when we say, oh, it's autism, we're not actually explaining it away. I want the explanation. What is it about it, right? Discord said, but I'm like, let's see, I'm likely autistic, but I just think I like it because the dolls look nice and I like how they look. So to me, it's no different than carrying around a fucking keychain, but some people take it a little bit further and perhaps more autistically. Oh, interesting. But I would not take it out like in my hands in public. It's in a bag. So maybe I'm not the best person to speak on it. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay, so again, I'm not these people on TikTok, anybody in my community, you do you. If we're introspecting, just like the biophobic conversation, just like the trans woman conversation, just like anything else, there's always a reason why we do things. The question is, why would you want to do it? And again, you don't have to answer this. You don't have to answer to me. But this is why introspection is so hard, because it's an embarrassing process of realization. You have to be willing to be embarrassed and humbled by the fact that you're like, why am I doing that? And the same way that I've done so many things in my life where I look back and I'm like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? It was always, a lot of it was about agency. A lot of it was about freedom. A lot of it was about expression. And a lot of it I would never do again because I realized it was inappropriate. What is the line for you, whatever that is, to recognize your activity in which is comforting to you is inappropriate, especially when you talk about ethics? And I think this is why we have to talk about ethics in such a specific way, because like, again, everybody has their own limit or level. Like when I was younger, my form of freedom was like intense displays of public affection, and to the point where it was like borderline inappropriate. And eventually I realized like I was not going to get any more validated in my queerness to do major public displays of affection with my girlfriends any more than I would by just simply holding their hand. But I had to recognize that in myself, because I was like, no one's going to tell me not to show affection to my girlfriends. And I would just be like so inappropriate, even in straight relationships, or not straight because I'm not straight, but even in relationships where I dated men, it was like, I would just feel like no one's allowed to tell me what to do. And eventually I realized like, okay, you're being inappropriate. You need to go to therapy for this because you're making it other people's business. And it's true. And then once I went to therapy, I was like, why do I do that? How inappropriate. So that's what I'm saying when we have these conversations is like, at some point, whatever you're doing, okay, whatever you're doing in your life, if you want to, you don't have to. You can introspect and extrospect and ask yourself, why am I doing this for real? Or am I just going to keep doing it because it feels good? These are all questions you can answer. Okay? All right, let's watch just a couple more and then we'll wrap up.
Good morning.
Yo, 700 likes on this video. 700,000 likes. Oh, Chad said, wait. Chad said, is PDA inappropriate? Not all public displays of affection are inappropriate. That's why I said holding hands as an example. Holding hands is a public display of affection. It's not inappropriate in public. But maybe riding your girlfriend at a public park and grinding on her and touching her boobs is.
Wake your sisters up. Good morning, sweet baby. Good morning, Adelia.
Like, these people got to be rich. Even like the items they have in their drawers, you know? So anyways, that's it. That's like the videos.
Good morning.
She just does this all day. And I get if it starts off with like money.
Porcupine?
Oh God. Girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing if this is your job or this is a hobby you do on occasion, but I just couldn't even imagine, like, why are you doing it though? Almost 700,000 followers. I just don't get it. I don't get what's happening here. And like, you know, I don't know. Like, it's Yeah, I don't get it.
Like it's really up to me.
What you watching, Jude?
Nothing worth troubling your mind over.
I rebuke you. I rebuke you. Okay, with peace and love. Chess said also, why is the baby always black? Okay, I'm telling you there's something weird happening. I don't know what it is, because obviously we want representation in dolls. I think it's good that people have like different dolls for their kids so their kids can get access to diversity. But it's really interesting that all these white people have like black dolls, brown dolls. You know, like what's the fantasy? What's the fantasy here? I don't know. It's just, I don't get it. And look, if she's like, again, this goes back to the ethics of it all. Is your career, the way you make money or the things you put on the internet, how much responsibility do you have to the community to think about how it impacts people? Again, I think I've learned over the years the line that I'm willing to cross. I've crossed a lot of lines that I would not cross now because I've learned. And it did come from people calling me out, by the way. I did do a lot of things when I was younger on the internet that people are like, why are you doing that? And I was like, I don't know. They're like, don't you think you're being inappropriate? I was like, I don't know. I think I'm trying to find myself and find freedom in the world. And eventually I was like, yeah, I agree with you. I think it is inappropriate. I'm going to take it back. Okay. And it starts, it's something as simple as, it could be something as simple as like the way you post your Instagram photos or like the way you show up and show public displays of affection, like the way we all engage in, I don't know, our community or the way we show up. So I just wanted to cover this with you because I thought it was interesting. And I'm not saying that they're always bad people. I'm not saying you're a bad person if you have a doll. I'm not saying you're a bad person if it's a comfort item for you. I'm saying, and this is the part that I think is really interesting because I think this is the hardest part. It reminds me a little bit of like, did you guys ever watch that movie called Benny and June? This is such a tangent, but stay with me here. There's this movie called Benny and June with Johnny Depp when he was younger, and he dates this woman who's like intellectually disabled, and her brother's really upset about it because he's like, why are you taking advantage of my sister? Because you're not intellectually disabled. Why are you dating her? And it's about making sure you're not taking advantage of your partner. And this conversation comes up with Love on the Spectrum, where Love on the Spectrum, a lot of the people there have a lot of dolls, or they kind of like still engage in activity as if they're like kids. And not that they are kids, and not that we should infantilize people with autism or anything else, but that there are intersections in which it would be at some point taking advantage of a person to have an adult relationship with a certain type of person. Like if, there are just everyone's on a different wavelength. And if you date somebody on a different wavelength than you, even if they're of a legal age, there is a very much a predatory or like inappropriate aspect happening here, right? So the question is, where is that line? The question is, how do you know that you're dating somebody who's intellectually on your level, or so you're not taking advantage of them if every display they have is like either childlike or not at all. Like, this goes back to the video I just made on my commentary channel where like even the most hardcore BDSM 24/7 Dom couple will tell you it's never 24/7 because real life happens. And it feels like there is a distinct separation between my hobbies and my fantasies and my real fucking life. Like going to pick up your kids from school, you're not going to be dressed up in fucking leather latex from top to bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe leather that's appropriate, but you're not going to be in like a fucking dog collar, dog mask, like fucking butt plug tail to pick up your kids from school because like that's inappropriate, right? But if you're at the point in your life where, and this is why we've allowed situations to occur where like people say, oh, they're like special needs, which that word is controversial because like then it explains why a grown up is showing up in this space with a doll. We go, oh, they're special needs. Oh, that makes sense. That's why the association is there. So we can give it an allowance to the behavior because the behavior doesn't make sense for the social context. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Okay? So when we think about it, we have to think about it that way. Okay? Chat says 24/7 BDSM is mental health to me. If you're trying to contradict what I've said and you're making the claim, if this is what you're saying, that you do BDSM 24/7, you're not saying what I'm saying. Because if you were, you wouldn't be on my channel right now talking to me. because you'd be busy living under someone's bed in a cage. I'm talking about, you know what I mean? Like super hardcore dynamics in which you are a table today and the scene never ends. I'm not talking about some spiritual dynamic in which you're wearing a collar today while you're at work. I'm talking about like when people say even BDSM is in 24 hours, they're talking about, you know, the live under my bed scenarios. They're talking about wearing a gag in your mouth 24/7. You know what I'm saying? That's what the conversation is about, guys, in case you're not understanding the context, because obviously you have other things to do. Okay? So I hardly doubt you're actually disagreeing with me because, okay. All right. Chat said CNC is often 24/7. Okay. Whoa. No, not even fucking close. I'm gonna quit social media. I'm gonna leave the internet. Like, what? What? Don't piss me off. No, that is so fucking wrong. Don't ever fucking say that shit again. Don't ever say that shit again, bro. CNC is 24/7. Don't ever say that shit again, bro. Talk about, you know what I mean? You said often? No, it's not even often. Bro, CNC is consent, non-consent. You're saying people are doing ravishment fantasies 24/7? How are you going to go to work? How are you going to go to sleep? How are you going to take care of the kids? How are you going to do anything? It's not true. I don't know who the fuck you're hanging out with, but they need to be certifiably like labeled insane. This is what I'm saying. At some point, we have to be able to look at our community members and say, hi, you are unsafe. CNC 24/7, certifiable. Abso-fucking-lutely not. Come on now. I need a break. That really set me over the edge. I need a fucking break.